This episode is brought to you by Heyday. Feeling stressed? Take a moment for yourself with Heyday. Stroll through rows of golden wheat, tend to cute barnyard animals, and discover the joys of a digital farm retreat. You don't have to hop in a car or catch a plane. Escape to the farm at the tap of a finger. With Heyday, you're not just tending to a farm, you're tending to yourself. Heyday. Search Heyday, that's Hay space DAY, in your favorite app store. Heyday is a free-to-play mobile game and offers optional in-app purchases and random rewards.
At Se'era, discover top workout gear at incredible prices, which might lead to another discovery. Your headphones haven't been connected this whole time. Awkward. Discover top brands at unexpectedly low prices. Se'era, let's get moving.
Welcome to Dear Prudence. I'm your Prudence, Jenée Desmond-Harris. Today, we'll be discussing what to do when your parents are co-signing your brother's political rants just because he's the favorite, how to be an optimistic dater after a near decade of failed dating, and how to react when you're sure that your husband's stepson is trying to hustle you for money. Here to help me out are David Roth and Drew Magary, the host of Defector Media's flagship sports and culture podcast, The Distraction. David is also a contributing editor at Defector and has written for Deadspin, New York Magazine, and the New York Daily News. Drew is a columnist at Defector and at SF Gate, and is an author of several novels and the 2021 memoir, The Night the Lights Went Out. Welcome to the show, guys.
Hey, that was like the most well-researched intro I've ever been given. That was very nice.
Shout out to Anuli, our amazing production assistant. Before we get started with these letters, I want to give each of you a chance to give one piece of unsolicited advice. David, we'll start with you.
Drink plenty of water. That's the one good habit that I have, and I don't remember how I got it. Most of the actual good habits that I have are just a matter of not having picked up more interesting or demanding bad habits.
Okay, how much water, and do you put electrolytes in it?
I don't do any of the packets or the stuff. I feel like that's kind of cheating. But I'm drinking water 16 ounces at a time, except for one 22-ounce, one of the big Guinness pint glasses things, all day long. And that, I think, helps. Like if it was in smaller glasses, it would require more cardio. As it is, I just feel like, 16 ounces, a few steps to the fridge, 16 ounces, over and over and over again over the course of the day. You walk about a mile and you stay hydrated. It's solid.
Okay. I listened to a bunch of podcasts where they debunk old bad health advice and stuff like that. And I feel as if there's been a pushback to all the enthusiasm around water. Like people are like, hydration is not that important. Everyone got out of control about it, but I feel better when I drink a ton of water. So I'm with you and I co-sign your advice. Drew?
I think my advice would be to steal more often because I was at a job once and they had beer mirrors in the basement that they were never using. But one day I was like, well, if they're not going to use them, I will. And I stole it. And I got to keep them in my apartment and all that stuff when I was a single guy.
I feel like I'm always on the podcast telling people who are getting divorced, now, this isn't legal advice. Be careful, check with someone who knows. And then you're just going to start off by suggesting robbery and theft.
Yeah, if you're getting divorced, take them to the cleaners. That's my advice.
I said you could say whatever you wanted. So everyone go steal something from your job. With that, David, Drew, and I will dive into your questions after a short break. This podcast is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Fiscally responsible financial geniuses, monetary magicians, these are the things people say about drivers who switch their car insurance to Progressive and save hundreds. Because Progressive offers discounts for paying in full, owning a home, and more. Plus, you can count on their great customer service to help you when you need it, so your dollar goes a long way. Visit Progressive.com to see if you could save on car insurance. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states or situations. Welcome back. You're listening to Dear Prudence, and I'm here with David Roth and Drew Magary. Let's get started with our first letter. It's titled, Hiding in San Francisco.
Prudie, politics has torn my family apart. My brother has screamed death threats at me. My cousin has told me to just shut the fuck up after I said that healthcare should cost less. I'm a doctor who knows the markup. And my own parents have taken me aside and told me not to speak. But they've become increasingly defensive of their views. Mine aren't particularly controversial. Gay marriage should be legal. Death penalty should not. Healthcare should be cheaper. but they contradict some views of my brother, who is quite clearly the favorite child. There have been thousands of straws, but the last straw, I said that certain veins are better for phlebotomy. I'm a certified phlebotomist. My brother is not. He refuses to stop with the politics, calling me a useless liberal fuck for asking. And family is important in my culture, meaning I can't leave without having to lead the entire extended family. He has an entire protection squad all fighting against me, no matter what I say. What can I even do here?
So as you can imagine, I get tons of letters about politics tearing families apart. I think it's like a familiar cultural narrative, especially in the past 10 years or so.
Sure.
And I think it can lead people to assume they're having a liberal conservative fight, when actually here I would focus more on the death threats than the politics. Like, maybe it's not so much that you have different political views and more that your brother is a maniac who's threatened to kill you.
I had a similar thought where there's like, it's clear that there's like, you can have a political difference in your family. The bit that was for me is like, unless the brother is also a phlebotomist, which you'd think would have been mentioned at some point, if you're just popping off and you're just like, that's the wrong vein. You don't even know what the hell you're talking about. You watch too much MSNBC. Like, so this guy is just mad about everything and an expert on everything?
Yeah, and a mean person. I mean, I will say that often when people pop up and surprise you by embracing really hateful political views, it's not the first time they've been really hateful. It's not the first time they've been really intolerant. You may not, like I've had that experience in my life. I just think it's very unusual that this comes out of nowhere and isn't backed up with years and years of similar behavior about different topics.
Yeah, I think that's right, because there are people in my family who have wildly different political views from me. We don't really talk about it, but we don't fight over it either. And we are incentivized to like not really fight about it because we care about each other's relationships. This is a case where the brother and the rest of the family clearly don't give a shit about preserving the relationship with her. Politics are a catalyst for that, but that is the larger problem is clearly that a lack of caring about someone in your family, so much so that you can't even let outside world events stay out of that sort of relationship that you have.
Right. It's just interesting to me that the letter writer is wringing their hands, worrying about how important family is in their culture, trying to figure out how to move forward. And I can guarantee you the brother's not thinking about any of that.
No.
Yeah, but it's like, it is, if it means a lot to her, then it does, right? And like, it could possibly be, like, I mean, how many times have you read about any number of people in like trapped in Scientology or in corrupt Mormon sects or in a small town? We feel like they can't get away. Like that is very common aspect of fraught and also abusive relationships, right? So I understand where she's coming from there, where it's like, if I leave these people, where do I go? I have nobody.
Right.
I have to build a whole new life for myself. How do I do that? Like, that's very scary. That's very daunting.
Nobody wants to hear, the solution is to disown the people who treat you terribly and don't care about you.
Right.
Because it's more comfortable to stay with the people who treat you terribly and don't care about you than to not have a family. It's really just a hard truth.
Yeah, this is kind of a sad one that way.
Totally.
This is a situation where this person feels like they're being bullied, like in their own home. That sucks. I don't know what to tell somebody to do in that case.
It's not healthy, and it seems abusive in a lot of different ways. So it does not seem like a situation that you can exist in, I would say, presently. It's like, I think like maybe things could soften if you went away for a few years. I don't know. I'm a bad person to ask because I don't have much experience in cutting family members off. I can only imagine that she is in a spot where she feels like every decision she can possibly make is a bad one. And I've been there. And that sucks. And I think what you have to do is you have to make a decision either way. And then you have to practice self-care and you have to forgive yourself for the decisions you make if they're poor. That's a big part of it, but it's not going to stop things from hurting one way or the other.
Well, I don't know if you have to make really a clear decision either way. Again, I think there might be a gray area here. Something between continue showing up and being walked all over and abused and disappear, change your phone number, and never talk to these people again.
Yeah, you can just do it at Thanksgiving once a year.
Yeah, I mean, that's
like
what a lot of
everyone
people
else.
do, right? Just at Thanksgiving. Or you go and you just refuse to engage in any of these debates, like just shut down when these people start arguing with you about stuff that they're dumb about. Or maybe try to identify, is there one person in the family, the extended family? Is there someone else reasonable insane who could kind of be an ally. And even if they don't stand up for you in terms of fighting back, just knowing that they're there might help. Another technique that always helps me in difficult situations in life is just to kind of go to the event, know it's going to be bad, and take notes to share with other people about exactly how bad it was. So then it's kind of like the worse it is, the better a story you have to tell.
Yeah, I do that a lot in my own life too. That's actually something that I sort of thought of as not dysfunctional, but I was kind of like, you're sort of just strategically dissociating right now. Like, but you think of it as like reporting basically for like a story that you're never going to write, but that you might tell to friends at a bar, then like that sort of works.
Oh, you treat it like anthropologically?
Yeah.
Right. It lets you dissociate a little bit, takes you out of it, and makes you more of an observer.
This is not strategic advice, but tactical advice. A lot of the examples in here are begging for I think this is like kind of an underused response in situations like this. If someone is arguing with you about what veins are best to put an IV in or to draw blood from, they're being weird, especially if you're a phlebotomist. But in general, that is not a thing you need to argue about.
Right.
And I think that saying you're being weird is a much underutilized method of like, not even of arguing, but of just trying to like check somebody and be like, why are you arguing with me about this? Like, what do you want from this? Like, what do you think our relationship is that we need to be doing this?
Yeah. Also, as someone who's been in a hospital for extended stay, is like the best vein to tap is the one that they can get in.
Yeah.
Like, all they want to do is be able to get an IV in you. It doesn't matter what fucking vein it is, so long as it can be accessed.
Exactly. And different people will find different veins. And people who are bad phlebotomists will tell you your veins are really small and weird.
Also, the only thing you could say when you tell somebody to, like, you're being weird, stop being weird, like, at that point, the response, I'm not being weird or I'm being normal, you've lost by that point. Like, just don't say anything at all. Like, you're done.
Call your brother and cousin, who I should clarify, the cousin made the death threats, but they're all basically the same person. Call these people weirdos and hope for the best. You're listening to the Dear Prudence Show, and when we come back, we'll be reading more of your letters. Stay with us.
This episode is brought to you by Discover. If you've listened to Dear Prudence for a while, you know how important acceptance is when it comes to your personal growth. And you know who else is big on acceptance? Discover. You see, Discover is accepted at 99% of places that take credit cards nationwide. That's a whole lot of places and a whole lot of acceptance, which is great for Discover, but even better for you. Based on the February 2024 Nielsen report. Learn more at discover.com/creditcard. Learning a new language opens the door to new friends, new cultures, and maybe even a new life. So why not start the journey today? Start speaking a new language with confidence thanks to Babbel's conversation-based technique that quickly teaches you everyday useful words and phrases. Babbel provides engaging and interactive dialogue so you can practice conversation skills right away, and you can even use fun stuff like Babbel Games for sentence building and Culture Bites that deliver you content so you can get some insider knowledge about the language you're learning. You can choose from over a dozen languages to learn, from German, Spanish, Italian, French, to Turkish, Polish, Indonesian, Dutch, the list goes on. Babbel is teaming up with Dear Prudence and offering 55% off subscriptions at babbel.com/Prudie. Get up to 55% off at babbel.com/Prudie, spelled babbel.com/Prudie. That's babbel.com/Prudie. Rules and restrictions may apply.
Welcome back to Dear Prudence. I'm here with my guests, Drew and Dave, and the next letter we're going to answer is titled Heartbroken and Hopeless.
Hey, Prudie. I'm not sure what to do anymore. I'm 33 years old. I've got a full life that I love. I'm steadily, finally able to build up my savings. And the only thing that feels like it's missing is, of course, what I'm sure everyone yearns for, a partner to share my life with. I've been dating in a major city since I was 26 after ending a long relationship, and I've been in and out of relationships, and it feels like I just have no fucking clue how two adult humans forge a long-term partnership that leads to marriage. I'm growing really disheartened. I want a kid. I want a husband. I want a healthy relationship. I want a house. These feel like such insane desires to the men my age in the dating pool. I am attractive, I am empathetic, I am charming, I am open and honest about my wants and needs, and I cannot seem to find anyone who I can build a real life with. I either end up in these short-term, what I hope will be slow burns that fizzle out, or these intense commitment-phobic love bombs that implode in my face. I've tried it all, Prudie, and I grow increasingly depressed as each year passes and my heart is full of new scars. I grow more fearful, more depressed, more hopeless that my lifelong dream that once seemed so normal will ever come true. I feel full of absolute terror and pain around this almost all of the time until I finally meet someone I like, and then I'm scared to hope that this will be different this time. How do people do this? I refuse to play games or be manipulative or cruel. How do you find hope again after so much failure in love? It seems impossible.
So this is another very, very common kind of letter, dating hopelessness. I realize I'm often talking about them with women, and I just thought it'd be interesting to hear what two married men think about this.
I've been there.
Okay.
I have absolutely been there.
And was there anything you changed to not be there anymore, or did life just unfold and things got better?
It's apples and oranges because obviously I was younger, and so I was learning how to read the signals of the opposite sex. I was learning how to talk to women. I was learning how to do all that stuff. And then I got into my first girlfriend, and that relationship was a fucking disaster. And it was like a year and a half, and finally broke up with her, and then met my wife, and it, not that long later, and I was like, oh, well, this is easy. And I do think that when that has not happened for you, it feels impossible. It's easy to feel as if you're the only person going through this because you are alone, in the love life sense. But then you just keep going and you keep meeting people, and you will find somebody where it's like, oh, because you usually find somebody who has the exact same feelings that you had about their own love life. And then you meet each other and you're like, oh, this works. Like,
right.
Why didn't we meet each other 10 years ago? That's what happens with people. And so I can't tell this woman that it will happen, but math suggests that it will.
And she does have confidence. She says she's attractive, empathetic, charming, open and honest. It's good to recognize your own good qualities. I think that's something to start with, at least.
The part that I kept coming back to with this, and again, as somebody also been in a relationship for a long time, I have only ever met people that I had relationships with through friends, and that's the sort of thing, just in the sense that was all happening in my 20s. These are all people that, some of us were single and some of us weren't, but, everybody knew people. Mm-hmm. And I think that gets harder as you get older, just because of the fact that people do tend to sort of either pair up or people move away in the way that people do. And I don't know that I certainly don't think that any kind of window is meaningfully closed by the age of 33, but you can feel the sort of the frustration with the people that this person is meeting, presumably through the ways that people, meet each other now, which is less at parties and more through some sort of either technologically mediated thing. I think that this is this is more of, I think, an old person opinion than a wife, guy, veteran, married person opinion. Mm-hmm. That it's I have a difficult time imagining how you would know whether you wanted to go even on a first date with someone if you hadn't actually met them before.
I completely agree. I think about
that. Is that
all the time.
Naive of me though? I mean, it doesn't.
Well, it is an old person opinion, and I share it with you.
No, it's all right. Cool. Thank you.
I can't imagine wanting to go on a date with someone without having been in front of them in real life before. And I think that's probably a little bit of what makes dating on apps, which is 99% of what people do now, so miserable, is that you're not doing it based off of real excitement and chemistry. You're doing it based off of, I just have to go on these dates just to see if there's even anything there.
Well, also, isn't it just if their photo's hot, you swipe them? I would.
Or it's person. A couple of little bits, little questions you give a quippy little answer to. Again, all of that stuff is it just feels like a job interview, in so many different ways. That is, I get stressed out just thinking about it. And again, that I'm aware that that's an old person who also couldn't imagine living without, my wife at this point. But there is, that part of it is tough. I think the way that, I don't give advice on how to date because I haven't done it in so long, but it seems like putting yourself in a position where you're getting the real, like actually physically being in front of or next to or around somebody, putting yourself in a position where you're doing that with someone that you sense has values that roughly align with you.
You just join a kickball team or something like that.
I always say one of my best friends joined a kickball team specifically to meet men, and she met her husband.
Yeah, it can be done.
Yeah.
And I think that, and that's so like, even if the only value that you share with someone going in is that they had a lot of fun in elementary school during recess, that's not nothing. Like, that's a place to start.
Right.
Usually a lot of the advice is, hey, put yourself out there. But that's like, it's almost misleading because it's like you want to walk around with like a sandwich board that says available and single. But that's not what putting yourself out there is. It's just you go places, you do things, you meet people, and you don't like force it. You're just meeting people to meet people. And then, of course, love happens accidentally.
Yeah. Well, then there's also the people now who are like, we met after our first day off the apps and we sat down and talked about how many kids we wanted and what kind of life we wanted to live. And it worked. So there is that angle too. But
I'm sure that experience really happens, but like, I also don't think it really happens. Like, it just doesn't sound real to me.
There's a difference between the on-ramp to a relationship being, I like this person so much, I want to spend more and more time with them, and I want to get married, who can fill that role. I prefer plan A, but I also really get that if you really want a partner, that's going to be the mindset that you go into this with. I want a partner, I want a house, I want a kid, who can help me get there? I do want to say, remember, a lot of married people are really unhappy. Marriage is not a path, a guarantee, or even close to happiness. I can say this, and my husband would say the same thing. It's not this magical thing that makes your life happy if it wasn't before. I really don't think it is for very many people. I don't know if it's helpful as another little psychological trick to kind of tune in, whether it's on forums on Reddit or talking to friends, and just remind yourself that people who have marriage and a house and a kid are not just waking up with a huge smile on their face every day.
Yeah.
They have their own problems, often directly related to marriage, the house, and the kid. You still get to want what you want. I will point out, this woman is not having trouble meeting people. It sounds like she's had a string of relationships. It's just that they end. So another thing I would encourage her to think about would be that a relationship ending is not a huge failure. And these experiences actually are shaping you and teaching you about what you want and giving you experience and getting you closer to where you want to be. All right, this is Dear Prudence. We need to take a break, but when we come back, more letters from you and advice from us. Stay tuned.
This podcast is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. You chose to hit play on this podcast today? Smart choice. Progressive loves to help people make smart choices, and that's why they offer a tool called Auto Quote Explorer that allows you to compare your Progressive car insurance quote with rates from other companies, so you can save time on the research and can enjoy savings when you choose the best rate for you. Give it a try after this episode at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Not available in all states and situations. Prices vary based on how you buy.
Learning a new language opens the door to new friends, new cultures, and maybe even a new life. So why not start the journey today? Start speaking a new language with confidence thanks to Babbel's conversation-based technique that quickly teaches you everyday useful words and phrases. Babbel provides engaging and interactive dialogue so you can practice conversation skills right away. And you can even use fun stuff like Babbel Games for sentence building and Culture Bites that deliver you content so you can get some insider knowledge about the language you're learning. You can choose from over a dozen languages to learn, from German, Spanish, Italian, French, to Turkish, Polish, Indonesian, Dutch, the list goes on. Babbel is teaming up with Dear Prudence and offering 55% off subscriptions at babbel.com/Prudie. Get up to 55% off at babbel.com/Prudie, spelled babbel.com/Prudie. That's babbel.com/Prudie. Rules and restrictions may apply.
I'm Jenée, and you're listening to Dear Prudence. I'm here with Drew and Dave, and we're about to tackle our last question for the day. Ready, guys?
Yes.
Let's do it.
The letter is titled Unhappy in Houston.
My husband is a good guy and tries to do the right thing. He had a stepson, Paul, from ages 2 to 12 when his marriage dissolved. His ex moved out of state and refused to keep in contact. My husband never adopted Paul, even though the biological father didn't want to be in the picture. His ex didn't want it. Paul is 20 now and wants to reconnect with his dad. The problem is that my husband only seems to be dad when Paul has money troubles. He's facing eviction, or lost his job, or got sick, or 100 other excuses, and needs money. In the past year, my husband has sent Paul thousands of dollars. We are expecting, and I had to take a leave of absence from work due to the difficulty of my pregnancy. We're depending on one income now. While we have savings, we don't have the margin to keep helping Paul. My husband finally heard me and told Paul he was not getting any more money. Paul screamed at him and called him horrible names. Then he dropped the bomb that his mother committed suicide, and he blamed my husband. My husband feels such guilt now, and I'm honestly very unhappy about it. This is supposed to be one of the greatest moments in our lives. Paul is a hustler and found my husband an easy mark. There was no genuine emotion behind him trying to reconnect other than greed. I don't know what to do here. Can you help me?
Writing this column, I always have to make sure that it's not radicalizing me against blended families, because I know that there are plenty of people who have wonderful relationships with their stepchildren and stepparents, and they're not writing me letters. But the people who are, it's just tough.
Also, I want to say that pulling the mom card, that strikes me as a classic bit of manipulation.
Say more.
This has actually never happened to me, but you ever have a bad relationship with a person and they say, oh, if you leave me, I don't know what to do. I don't know if I can go on. I might hurt myself. That is a classic manipulative tactic to make you feel bad so that when you feel bad, you will do what the other person wants. That's what I think the kid is doing, bringing up the mom to the old man, because what other motive would there be? Like, because if he really loved the old man, he'd say, listen, I got to tell you something. My mom died by suicide and it's very sad and I wish you had known, blah, blah, blah. That he presented it more as a bomb. He weaponized it, right?
Yeah.
That's a very big red flag to me.
Absolutely. It seems like one of those situations that, of course, hindsight 2020, I wish it would have been addressed before getting married, in the same conversations when you're talking about how do we feel about having kids together? Where do we want to live? Who's going to work? How important is money to us? Who are we going to give money to? Would be a good thing to sort of agree on before you decide to merge your life with someone, but that didn't happen. It's hard because the letter writer has kind of won at this point. There's no more money going to Paul, but she says, my husband feels such guilt. And that's the thing about winning in marriage.
Yeah.
Is that you don't really win if you're still married to the person who feels horrible because you won. So I just don't know.
Well, it's your job as the spouse to comfort your spouse, right?
Yeah.
So she can be like, listen, this is not your fault. You had nothing to do with this. You're being manipulated now. And I understand why you're feeling guilty. I would feel guilty too, but you have to sort of try to distance yourself and see the situation objectively. Like you have to be able to take yourself emotionally out of the situation and view the dynamics for what they are. And I think you can do that if you have your spouse who is your champion, saying this to you in a way that is like not, hectoring or mean or anything like that. Just saying, look, I think this is what's happening and I don't want you to have to suffer this guilt because I don't think you deserve to have this guilt. I think that would just be good spousing.
It's tough though, because this is, even if you're able to sort of treat this as like a settled thing, like the whole Paul experience is in the rearview mirror. We're not giving him any more money. There's no more opportunity for this person who seems, just from the text of the letter, to be like luridly toxic, like just can't deal with them, like shouldn't be in your life. That there's still this other aspect, and this is something that, you want to be compatible in a relationship, but not necessarily in this way. My wife and I both have a tendency, I think, to turn things over and over and over in our head to discover if there's something that we could have done differently to make things, come out differently. And in this case, it's, if you are talking about this thing that goes back to before the relationship with our writer even started, you're excavating so much extra trauma and bad experience in your life that it's like you will never be able to put this behind you if you insist on trying to like close every circuit and make sure that you've completely figured out what went wrong with it.
Right.
Yeah, this dude's never going to be satisfied.
So I feel like Drew's advice of just basically being like partisan about it and just trying to be like, how can I help? And bucking the partner up to the extent that you can. Like, it sucks because it's not like sufficient, probably, you know, like this person's still going to feel their guilt, and that's for them to sort of work through, you know, with you, but on their own. But like, all you can do is just be consistent and be supportive. But it's tough with stuff like that. Like, it's the right thing to do, but it's not always enough, I guess, if that makes sense.
I do think the letter writer could kind of make the case to her husband, who clearly is a person who cares a lot about other people, including the children in his life, and I guess wants people to be okay, that it really is time to turn our focus to the new kid who is helpless and has not manipulated and abused us.
Yeah.
And I need you to
also
be
extracting a great deal of money from us, but in like a nice way.
In a nice way, right. And there's such a big difference between a nice way and the way it happened in this letter, right, Drew?
Well, also, like, you know, when you focus on the child, it's also like, hey, is it going to be healthy for Paul to be around our child? And I think the answer to that is almost assuredly no. And I think the husband would know that, or would sense it, or could be talked into believing it.
I would hope so, yeah. And hopefully he'll be just as concerned about making sure this child is okay in a healthy way as he was about making sure Paul was okay in an unhealthy way. Drew, you've written about something that can kind of shed light on just the financial sacrifices that parents make for their children. You wrote in The Night the Lights Went Out, Sonia and I had been married for 14 years and had settled into a place where we rarely, if ever, bothered to buy each other gifts for any occasion. We knew we had to save every dollar we earned during the kids' upbringing so that once they turned college age, nefarious debt lords at big university could extract our life savings in half a second. I'm sure that sucked a little bit, but it sucked less because you were on the same page with your wife about it, right?
Yeah. And also, my daughter goes to college. My first kid goes to college in a month. And like the tuition bills already come through. So it's like, we're here now. So it's like, oh, fuck.
Yeah. And I'm sure you're glad you did it. And you both agreed that you were willing to sacrifice for this kid.
Of course.
And that's healthy and good. But you have to be kind of looking at the kid and life and your values through the same lens.
Yep. Yeah.
I hope the letter writer and her husband can get there. I hate to sort of pass the buck again to a therapist, but he should be in there definitely every week.
Oh, big time.
Every week. Those are all the questions we have for this week. It's been fun and hopefully helpful. Thank you, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Listen to Drew and David every Thursday on Defector's The Distraction podcast to hear them discuss sports, politics, and media. You can follow the pod on Twitter at DistractPod for more, and follow their personal pages at Drew Magary and at David_J_Roth. Do you need help getting along with partners, relatives, coworkers, and people in general? Write to me. Go to slate.com/Prudie. That's slate.com/PRUDIE. The Dear Prudence column publishes every Thursday.
If you'd like to hear your question answered on the podcast,
we are looking for letter writers who would be comfortable recording their questions for the show.
You can stay anonymous.
Dear Prudence is produced by Se'era Spragley Ricks and me, Jenée Desmond-Harris, with a special thanks to Maura, Currie and Ononye. Editorial help from Paola de Verona. Daisy Rosario is senior supervising producer, and Alicia Montgomery is Slate's VP of audio. I'm your Dear Prudence, Jenée Desmond-Harris. That's all for this episode, but join us on today's Prudie Plus, where David and Drew stuck around to answer an extra letter about whether a friend's trauma response is the reason they aren't defending you in arguments with waiters. Subscribe now on Apple Podcasts by clicking Try Free at the top of our show page, or visit slate.com/Prudie Plus to get access wherever you listen. The episode is available for you to listen to right now. We'll see you there.
This episode is brought to you by Discover. If you've listened to Dear Prudence for a while, you know how important acceptance is when it comes to your personal growth. And you know who else is big on acceptance? Discover. You see, Discover is accepted at 99% of places that take credit cards nationwide. That's a whole lot of places and a whole lot of acceptance, which is great for Discover, but even better for you. Based on the February 2024 Nielsen report, Learn more at discover.com/creditcard.
I'm not exactly a tech genius, but I knew one thing for sure. If I wanted my small business to crush it, I needed a website that worked like a pro, and I needed it yesterday. Lucky for me, Bluehost made it ridiculously easy. With their AI design tools, building my website was a walk in the park. I could customize, optimize, and monetize everything exactly how I wanted. In just a few minutes, I had a secure site up and running. I couldn't believe how straightforward it was. And getting found online? Bluehost helped me with that too. I perfected my keywords and meta descriptions with their search engine tools. The AI even gave me suggestions to improve my pages. Now I can sit back, relax, and focus on my customers, while my website continues to rank higher and higher on Google. With their 30-day money-back guarantee, I wasn't worried about taking the plunge. And now I'm so glad I did. Head over to Bluehost.com and build something special today.